Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Isn't She Powerful podcast. In this episode, I am interviewing one of my favorite people in the entire world. Her name is Alesha McNeill. She is my personal coach, and I've been working with her for quite some time now, like over a year for sure. I think about 2 years now. I've been working with her, and she genuinely has transformed my life. Tell her that I swear every time that I get to see her and work with her more. And in this episode, she and I are going to be talking about learning to love yourself more, what that looks like, what that feels like, why we struggle to love ourselves, how to begin to love ourselves more. We talk about nervous system regulation. We talk about forgiving yourself, like that all or nothing mentality, the years of dieting and the years of, not trusting yourself around food. We talk about how to do that again, how to learn to forgive yourself and learn to trust yourself and learn to feel in control around food. It is a really, really impactful talk, and I hope that you are going to take so much away from this. I want to invite you, if at the end of this conversation you feel called to Alesha, she has a program that is starting on April 15th, which is about a week from whenever you are listening to this episode, if you listen to it in real time as soon as it comes out or anything like that. But she is opening that program. The program is called Love Embodied, and I've chatted with her, and she is willing to give anybody who joins that program from listening to this episode $100 off of their enrollment when they use the code Laura, Laura, which is my name. So if you use that code at checkout, it'll save you $100, and I promise you it would be worth every penny. I have learned so much about myself. It's made me a better human. It's made me a better wife. It's made me a better coach for all of you. It's just made me a happier person overall in general. I have a different outlook on life through working with her. So I can't say enough positive things, and I'm not going to spend this whole episode talking about how much I love her, but you will hear a little bit of that at the beginning of this episode. But anyways, if you are called to work with Alesha or to learn more about her program called Love Embodied, you can go down into the show notes, learn more about the program, use the code Laura at checkout to save $100 and get to fall in love with Alesha the same way that I have. So with all of that being said, let's go on and let's dig into this episode together. Hello, Alesha, and welcome to the Isn't She Powerful podcast.
Hello, Laura. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's your second time on my podcast. And also, it just feels so fun to have you here because you were my coach for over like a year and a half, 2 years. I don't even know how long. It was so long that we were working together. Some of the best times of my life. I mean that so genuinely.
Aw, it's been such a treat and such an honor to support you for so long. I love watching you grow and deepen your connection to yourself, to God, to your work.
Yeah, it's my work has definitely benefited from me being inside of your program for sure. I've been a much better coach because I've loved myself better. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Self-love and loving God and allowing those things to fill us up, our own love for ourselves and the love that comes from a higher power. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Thanks for coming onto the show and just being a part of it. The first thing I want to talk about is kind of where your program starts, Love Embodied. I want to start with building the self-trust because so many of the women that I have worked with, they've been on diet after diet after diet, and they're frustrated and they don't believe in themselves anymore. And I teach the diet cycle, and it's truly a cycle, right? You start the diet, there's all these food rules. You end up giving into the food rules. You beat yourself up because, gosh, I went off the diet again. Now you believe in yourself even less. You are speaking very negatively to yourself, and that compounds. Every time you do this cycle, the cycle goes faster and faster because you believe in yourself less and less and less. So can you talk a little bit to building the self-trust? How does one begin to undo those years of dieting?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is a huge one. You know, what I found with self-trust, which is so interesting, is how much we trust ourselves reflects in how much we trust something greater very often. It's interesting because I teach about manifestation and reality creation. And what I found over the the years is if we're always breaking agreements with ourselves, we can say we want things in our life. We want to lose the weight. We want to feel peace. We want to have a certain job or relationship, and we can connect to God or the universe and ask for that. But if we're not trusting ourselves, we're going to get that mirror back in the greater world, and we're less powerful creators and manifestors. But to begin developing that self-trust, what I've found is it's going to be frustrating for people. It was frustrating for me, but it works. It's to reduce your list of the promises you make to like one or two things. Because so often we feel shame or guilt or like we need to fix ourselves, and we give ourselves a list. I need to do the workout. I need to cut out all sugar. I need to cut out all carbs. I need to get that thing done and the next thing and the next thing. And we create these long lists, even if they're just in our mind. We tell ourselves we'll do it. And then when it comes down to it, we're overloading ourselves with so many new habits that, of course, we don't follow through. And of course, we break agreements with ourselves. So what you want to do is get really clear on one or two things that you are certain you can and will stick with for at least 30 days. And I usually, for myself, stick with one thing. And that's what I recommend to my clients because, and it can be so simple. It can be simple as 5 minutes of gratitude every morning. It can be as simple as adding in a cup of veggies with every meal, like something you really can get behind. And even if you feel that resistance, frustration, sleepiness, you call on your personal power and you do it anyway. And what this does, it's so beautiful because instead of waking up the next day with shame, you have none, or at least you don't have any in relationship to breaking agreements with yourself. So you naturally feel this boost of love within you, of belief in yourself, of confidence, of trust. And then you get on a roll, you get on this momentum, and eventually within 3 to 4 weeks, that habit that felt so simple and maybe silly in the beginning just to have that one that you're committing to, in 3 to 4 weeks, it's natural. It's a natural part of your life. You have more confidence, more self-trust. The ripple effect of that small habit is actually massive over time. And then you get to add in another one. So something I personally like to do for myself throughout the year is each month, well, not every month, but often I like to say, like, what's one thing I can do this entire month to deepen that self-trust and self-confidence? And it works.
Yeah, I really love that. But first of all, the way that you and I coach is so similar, which is probably why we are so attracted to each other and love working together so much. But that's the way that I coach too. I help my clients to just pick that one tiny thing that you're going to focus on, and then we'll build onto it over time. You don't have to do it all overnight. I use this example all the time, but growing up, my dad always used to talk about health and wellness and how we were going to lose the weight and all the things. And he would say, it's a lifestyle change. We have to make a lifestyle change. And he was meaning that, like, from today, what today looks like and what tomorrow looks like need to look completely different. We need to change everything about ourselves by the time we wake up tomorrow. And that's not realistic. You can't do that. You can't cut out the soda and the bread and the carbs and all the things overnight. You're going to give in. You're going to give up on yourself. You know what I mean? And so making that one change, what I've come to learn is that is a lifestyle change, because you're right, the ripple effect of that. You make one change and then now you believe in yourself more. It becomes easier to follow through on all these other commitments that you maybe even subconsciously are making, you know what I mean? And so it becomes a lot easier to follow through on them because you are building that self-trust in just this one little area.
Yes. And I can't remember what this metaphor is called, but have you heard of 1% Better?
Yeah.
I think there's a book on it. I don't know. I haven't read it. I feel like the title gives it away a little bit. But I remember hearing a metaphor once that if you're flying a plane and you shift the angle of the plane by 1%, and that plane continues to fly a very far distance, the planes end up in different parts of the world, like completely different parts of the world. So to anyone listening who feels like I want to go balls to the wall and change everything at once, first I would ask you to say, has that ever worked for you?
Literally.
And then I would say, what if this one change you make at a time takes you to a completely so much closer to where you want to be. And then you get to make another one and another one. And you're right, it's definitely a lifestyle change. Like when I first started healing my relationship with food in my body, I zoomed out and I said, do I want this lifestyle, like this relationship with myself and food and my body for the rest of my life? Or do I want peace? And if I want peace, that means I need to start creating peace today, which means I need to give up all of the ways of relating to myself in food and pressuring myself and forcing myself and overdoing it all, because I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. So why would I do that today?
I think this relates to one of those other conversations that you have with your clients when they work with you. And one of the big things that I learned from you, which is forgiveness. The idea that I can make a mistake. I might say that I'm going to follow through with eating a cup of vegetables, and then one day I don't because life happens. And instead of beating myself up and using that as evidence that I can't follow through again and I suck at this and I'll never be healthy, instead I forgive myself. But that's a really hard thing to begin doing, like forgiving yourself after years of beating yourself up. It's really hard to do that. So talk a little bit about how do we start making that shift to being a person who forgives ourselves.
Yeah, one thing I like to say is instead of falling back, fall forward. And what this would look like is what you shared. Let's say you say, for these next 30 days, I'm gonna go on a 15-minute walk outside. And you have momentum. 5 days in, you miss a day. And that comes up. You wanna beat yourself up. You wanna be ashamed. And you wanna think, I have to start over. Now my 30 days are starting over. Yeah. And this is the worst, the literal worst thing we can do, because that gets you into the mindset of, well, I'm gonna start again on Monday. I'm gonna let myself be the worst version of myself today and start over. And that's that loop that we want to break. Yes. So what you want to do is first you want to realize, you want to look at all, celebrate yourself. If you notice yourself going into shame, completely switch into, okay, let me pause and look at, wow, I did this for 5 days. Okay, didn't do it yesterday. And you can just talk to yourself. This is what I do. I say, okay, well, I could shame myself right now, but what would that serve? Would that bring me any closer to the version of myself I want to be? No. Okay, so what can I do instead? I can take this as a moment to love myself and extract a golden lesson. Anytime we're feeling ashamed about something in the past, there's something to learn. And I love that. I love it. Now when I feel regret or shame, instead of dwelling in it, I'm like, okay, amazing. What can I learn here? I can it's literally turning dirt into diamonds and extracting gold from the pain and saying, okay, I didn't do my habit yesterday. So why didn't I? Well, I told myself I would do it at 8 o'clock at night, but I was really tired and I had to put the kids to bed and I just couldn't do it. Okay. Great lesson learned. So what can I do next time? Well, and then your intuition will tell you what you can do next time. We all have this inner coach and guide that's really loving and not really mean. And maybe it says, okay, well, do it during your lunch break tomorrow or get up 15 minutes earlier.
That is I think the biggest thing that I help my clients do too is the all or nothing mindset. Get rid of the idea that you have to be perfect or it's not worth it at all. I might as well, if I'm not able to do everything that I said, then I'm just going to give up on it, because if I can't be perfect, then it's not worth it. And that is, of course, I always think of it as if you're speaking to a child. Would you make a child give up if they messed up one time? No, of course. You're just going to encourage them to keep going. We're not going to, if you're teaching a kid to ride a bike, you're not going to get halfway down the road and then say, all right, well, let's walk it back to the house if they fall down. We're just going to pick up and keep on going right where we are. And that's the mindset that we have to approach health and wellness with as well.
I love that. And I agree. It's a lot easier to be kind to ourselves when we imagine ourselves as little kids. And we say, okay, if I was talking to my 5-year-old self right now, what would I say? Then forgiveness becomes a million times easier.
So much easier. Yeah. And if you sometimes I imagine like my younger sister or a child because I used to be a teacher, so a child that I love, and how would I speak to them if they were in this situation? Because sometimes it's hard to envision myself as a child, but envisioning other children and, okay, if this was them, how would I respond? And that makes it a lot easier. But Alesha, you mentioned my favorite thing that I ever learned from you, which was intuition and learning how to speak to your inner child or your inner voice and hearing that inner wisdom. I think so many of us are conditioned to believe that someone else has the answers. Someone else is the person who's going to help me know exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it. From an early age, we start listening to our parents, and then we're listening to the teachers, and then we get a job, we're listening to the boss. Now we're listening to everybody on social media telling me what's best for me and what I should be doing. But what I've learned from you is like, if I just sit quietly for a couple of seconds, I know the move I should be making. I know if I should be working with this coach or I shouldn't. I recently was going to make a hire within my business, somebody to help me with an aspect of my business. And I just had an inner knowing that this was not the move to make. And I have ignored that inner knowing before. I have hired the person or worked with the coach or done the thing that something was telling me I shouldn't be making this move, and I ignored it and did it anyway, and I paid for it. And so I'd love for you just to, whatever comes up for you, and whenever I bring up the word inner knowing and intuition, what do you want to share on that topic for my listeners? Because man, I feel like I could talk about that all day.
Yeah, so could I. I love how it was one of your favorite parts of what you learned, and I could talk about it all day too. So remember how we were speaking earlier about the voice in our head that criticizes us, shames us, gives us this long list of things to do. So that is called a few different things in psychology. It's called the superego, the inner critic, and it's this part of our mind that's learned from parents, society, what is right and what is wrong. And depending on who you are and kind of how your energy system works, some people are really chill. They don't have a strong inner critic. Other people are more rigid and they feel more safe following a set of rules. And their mind is always saying, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. You should do this, you shouldn't do that. And that's that strong inner critic. And that's a part of the brain. The intuition, also called, I call it also the inner voice, is a part of our spirit. We hear our intuition and inner voice not in our brain, we hear it in our heart, in our belly, and it's this spiritual part of us. I kind of imagine it as what we do is we quiet the mind. And you said earlier, like you do this on your own, you just sit and you receive. So we let the mind get quiet, we relax. And I kind of imagine it as this like divine white light flowing in through our head. And it can only come in when we allow our mind to soften. And it merges in our heart, in our belly. And we can just ask. Like a question I teach everyone is, and everyone can do it now if they want while they're listening, if you're not driving, placing a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly. Usually I'll close my eyes and take a few deep breaths. We could do that now, just breathing in, breathing out, allowing yourself to relax. And two more, breathing in, filling up your belly and chest. And one more, biggest breath of your day. And then asking your heart and your belly, what do you need right now and how can I love you more? What do you need right now and how can I love you more? And what you'll find is every single person who just did that with us, they'll probably receive a different response. It's usually something really biological, like I need a break, or I need fresh air, or I need to come back to this podcast, or I need to move my body. I need to eat something. It will guide you to something very primal when you're asking your body what it needs. But we can do this with our work as well. So you can ask intuition. You can also direct it to God, universe, divine. I'm in the middle of this launch. What would you have me do next? And it's this wisdom, and it guides us to our best life, our best relationships, our best careers. It's like this direct GPS system that will guide us to our best health, anything that we want, if we allow ourselves to soften the belief system and the rigid thinking mind and open to an intuitive wisdom, an inner voice that is connected to the divine, that knows everything.
I've been doing it with you for so long now that I don't even have to take as long. Like, I know I don't even have to sit and be quiet and still. Like, my inner voice just speaks to me so clearly now. I just know without even having. And I think, one of our last calls, Alicia, we talked about my human design and all of that. And I just released an episode on my podcast about that too, talking about what my human design was and what I'd been learning with that. And one of those things is that I do have this just gut feeling, like this just knowing of what move I should make, what I should be doing. And I used to use this a lot whenever it came to my relationship with food, my food noise, and my sugar cravings, because for so long I would just give in to them right away without thinking, without pausing, without noticing what my body actually needs. It's just, this is what I'm craving. I'm just going to reach for the Snickers bar. And then I started pausing, slowing down, asking my body what it actually needs. And so often it was either I need to get out of my current situation, like I just want to eat because I'm trying to procrastinate, or I feel uncomfortable and stressed and I just want to get out of this current situation. So I need to, like you said, get up, move my body, get some fresh air, or I actually am hungry and I need some protein and some fiber and something to fill my stomach up. And that's why I'm craving the sugar, because my body is craving food. And that's the easiest thing for it to convert to energy. So once I started paying attention to my inner voice, it really helps me with all of that aspect of it too.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite ways to play with clients, or I guide them to like play with listening to their intuition when it comes to food, because it's one of the most kind of direct response areas where you can go in your kitchen and say, all right, body, inner voice, intuition, what food it will nourish me the most. And you'll notice you're like, for some reason, really drawn to the eggs and avocado. And your mind may say, but that chocolate pastry looks better. But your intuition will never guide you to a chocolate pastry. Now, that doesn't mean you never have one. Like, I love treating myself, but it's a conscious decision that's made rather than not knowing what's right for you or what's healthiest for you, actually, or being so overwhelmed with emotion or thought that you just kind of say it and eat anything and everything.
I like to use this when I go to restaurants too, because sometimes looking at the menu, it can feel so overwhelming and you're unsure, like, oh, I don't know. Do I want the salad? Do I want the burger? Do I want the chicken? You're unsure of which one you want. And so I just sit for a second and I kind of envision these foods landing in front of me. Which one am I most excited to eat? Which one am I being drawn to the most? And sometimes it's not the healthiest option, but it is what my body needs, right? Like my body, maybe I'm getting ready to start my period. And so my body knows that it needs iron. So it's going to draw me more towards the burger so that it has that iron than the chicken. My body is intuitive enough to know that. And once I started trusting my body and trusting myself, it became so much easier to navigate restaurants as well. And all of these decisions, should I get up and get off the couch and go do a weighted workout? Should I lay around and rest? Should I just go for a walk? Every decision became so much easier once I, like I said, trusted myself and had that intuitive guidance.
Yeah, it becomes easier and more freeing in my experience because you don't have to think as much. You don't have to plan as much. It's still nice to have a plan so you're not kind of in the moment having nothing prepared. But for me, it's just so nice to not have to think and wonder. And I can just be like, oh, my body really wants a long walk right now. Great, I'm going to go do it. Oh, my body really is craving cardio, which I don't prefer. But I give it to my body when it craves it because I know my heart is happy.
Yep. Exactly. And I think to your point, there is a mix of being prepared and having the plan and having that structure, and there's flexibility within it as well. Like, for example, with meal planning and meal prepping, you can still do that stuff. You can still have a meal plan. You can still meal prep some things, but maybe you allow flexibility in what options you choose. You have 3 things meal prepped, and then you get to lean into your intuition and say, which of these 3 sounds best to me right now? You even could lean into your intuition about which 3 things am I going to make this week? And so there's flexibility in having that structure as well.
Yeah. And I'd love to share this example of a client that just popped in my mind. Her name's Jenna. We worked together a few years ago and we were doing a lot of inner voice work, and she really wanted to lose weight. And she was following kind of like what society was telling her to do, doing a lot of HIIT, trying to restrict certain foods, but it didn't like it felt challenging. And her inner voice told her, stop doing HIIT, start walking, start doing yoga. And I think there was something about pears, like eat a pear a day or something, like something really random that I could have never told her. Google could have never told her. And it was amazing. She was like, Alesha, the weight is falling off. I'm having more fun than ever. It's so much easier and there's less pressure. And often that happens in health as well. We're so focused on it. And then we create so much stress that our body, if we could be working out hard every day and restricting fully thinking that's the right path, but there's so much stress on the body that it's actually clinging to weight. Or, and this is what happened with me, I was restricting so much and working out so hard that on the outside, people would say, damn, you look good, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't feel it. I was burnt out. I didn't love myself. I kind of hated myself. Like I was deeply unhappy.
Yeah, you bring up the stress, and that's a conversation I've been having with a few of my clients, especially the ones that I've been working with long term. They navigate stress pretty regularly in their life. There's just family situations and things like that that bring up stress for them. And so the nervous system is something I've been talking a lot with them about, because if your nervous system isn't regulated, your body is going to hold on to that weight, and you're not going to get good quality rest. You're not going to hear your intuition as clearly. It's going to be more challenging for you to navigate life if your nervous system is dysregulated. So you were a big piece in helping me understand that, but then also navigate it. So I'd kind of love to talk for a few minutes about the nervous system, and talk to me first about why is it so important to have a regulated nervous system first, and then we can talk about strategies for actually doing that.
Yeah. So having a regulated nervous system is important for many reasons. To me, my favorite piece is when I have a calm, relaxed, regulated nervous system, I feel at peace. I feel creative. I feel connected to the people I love. I feel relaxed. I just feel amazing. And we live in a society that normalizes stress and pressure and a dysregulated nervous system, but that's actually not normal. Like it might be common, but it's not normal to our physiology. And when we're in chronic stress, it's the number one killer. It creates disease. I mean, it leads to a bunch of different diseases, which can actually kill you.
Mm-hmm.
On a smaller scale, it just leads to not enjoying your everyday life. And what I find when I'm in a stressful state is I'll create situations to solve that don't actually need to be solved. Like I'll give myself more work than I need to do, because when you're in stress, you go into either fight, flees, fawn, like we go into these patterns that don't serve us. And when we talk about the body, we already spoke to how in that stressful state. So if we look at back in the day, we would experience stress, like a normal physiological stress, when there wasn't food around, or when we needed to protect ourselves and fight for our lives. And that served us. The stress would hold on to body fat because we needed it, because we were in a fast and we didn't know how long we'd go without food. And we still have that nervous system. We still have that physiological response in this everyday life where we actually have an abundance of food, an abundance of resources. But if we're in stress, our body will hold on. And also it can lead to overeating or undereating and then overeating, because stress is very uncomfortable. It can feel like anxiety, pressure, like it doesn't feel good. And very often if we overeat, it basically, when the belly gets full, there's something called the vagus nerve within us, which regulates our nervous system. And the food wraps around the vagus nerves and it literally warms us. It calms us down. It's a way that we unconsciously can just deeply relax. Kind of like on Thanksgiving, after you eat a big meal, everyone's really tired and relaxed. This is how a lot of people will regulate themselves without even realizing it, is through overeating or eating a lot of processed foods.
Yeah, what they're going to start noticing now is that the cravings for these foods when you're stressed, it's because your body is literally telling you, hey, we want that food on the vagus nerve to calm us down. But there are ways to engage the vagus nerve and calm yourself down without overeating and without turning to food. And when you can start to pause, listen to your intuition, realize the reason that I'm having this craving, the reason that I want to overeat, the reason that I can't put the fork down in the middle of the meal whenever I'm feeling really stressed is because of the physiological things that are going on inside my body when I'm feeling stressed. Then you can take a moment and pause and say, okay, I'm not going to do that. And instead, I'm going to turn to some other practices to help calm myself down in this state of stress. So, Alesha, what are some of those things that we can do to calm ourselves down instead of turning to food?
Yes. So this is a two-parter. The first part is getting okay and comfortable and feeling safe to feel in general, because we also live in a society that where we have instant access to quick hits of pleasure. So when we feel discomfort, our body typically, for most people, they'll try to avoid pain and run to pleasure. And yes, that can be food, but it can also be smoking weed, drinking alcohol, scrolling on the phone is a really easy one that's really normal, right? Or common. There's all of these different TV, like there's all of these different habits that we can engage in because we don't want to feel discomfort. And what I found is learning how to feel safe and okay, feeling that discomfort is the first step, or else you're just not even going to pause and let yourself develop a new habit. One of the tools that helps me the most with feeling safe to feel is breath work, because when you're breathing, you'll notice maybe there's some anxiety that needs to be released from the body. Maybe there's some sadness or just some general feeling of discomfort. And all you need to do when you're doing breath work is breathe. And you, well, depending on like, in some breath works I teach, I'll say like you are safe to feel, and you just kind of are learning that as you're breathing. It's amazing. And this is what helped me in the beginning of developing new habits, is like, oh, okay, I'm feeling some discomfort, but I don't need to run from it. In fact, if I allow myself to feel it, I will just move right through it. And then on the other side is feeling really good. So the second piece, when you pause, that's where that discomfort usually comes in. Is like, oh, I want to get rid of this with something really quickly, but actually just pause, allow yourself to sit in it, and then ask yourself, what do I need right now and how can I love you more? And some people will get a direct answer and their body will say, I'm overwhelmed. I need to just go sit outside in nature for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice as you're sitting outside in nature and you're not looking at your phone, maybe you're feeling your feet on the grass, or you're just laying and feeling the sun on your skin. You'll just notice, you'll feel within yourself, I'm relaxing. I'm coming into what we call a regulated nervous system, where you feel present and relaxed. And that's how you know you're regulated. You're relaxed and you're present and you feel this sense of peace. In my courses, like the Love Embodied course that we've been talking about, I like to teach a variety of tools, because sometimes people ask their body, okay, I know I don't want to engage in this habit. I know I need to regulate my nervous system, but I don't know what to do. So each week I teach different tools, because we need to learn, like, okay, what is going to help me? Is it breath work or is it meditation? Because depending on where you are and what your nervous system, how your nervous system responds, it might need to be upregulated, meaning more energy in the body. I need that breath work to activate my energy because I've been shut down. Or you're like too overwhelmed and actually you need maybe some yoga nidra, some meditation, some nature to down regulate your nervous system because it's like too active.
I would say I'm the second one. I have a resistance to breath work, and I don't know if it's because it maybe my body wants to avoid something coming up, or maybe it's just my nervous system being like, that's just not the solution for you. That's my intuition just telling me that's not the route. I'm hoping that it's the second one, because I don't know. That would feel better for me, right? If I knew that it's not like there's something wrong with me. But anyways, I do enjoy that you shared that, because I have found that the breath is the number one thing. The pausing and the coming into my body and the taking the breaths, that really helps me. It doesn't have to look a certain way. I do like the 4 breaths in, 6 breaths out, and I just repeat that over and over, especially if I am feeling really stressed or overwhelmed, or I have that anxiety pit in my stomach. I just come back to that breath, slow down for a second, and then when you slow down, that makes all the difference. It's like that simple thing that for
Mm.
so long when I was like, for example, healing my gut, it was all those simple things people were telling me to do. And I was like, that's too easy. That's not going to work for me. My problem's bigger than that. And then I started doing all those easy things. And now I can eat dairy again. And like life is so much better in terms of that. And so when you can just do these like little simple things, take some deep breaths, take a pause, listen to your intuition. And I will say about the intuition thing, sometimes it's hard in the beginning to know, is that my intuition guiding me? Is that my inner critic guiding me? So how do you help people to navigate the difference between those two things? I think that was something that gradually happened for me through working with you. So
Mhm.
that now it's so easy for me to know, no, that's a societal pressure. This is my intuition speaking. But teaching that it takes you to teach us how to do it. So
Mhm.
talk to me a little bit about how to know the difference between society pressures and our intuition.
Yeah, yeah, it takes, well, I just want to add real quickly that you just said that you do breath work and it helps you. So it depends on the kind of breath
Yeah,
work, is what
I
I'll say.
agree.
And I know you were referring to my longer sessions where we get a lot of energy moving, but there are different forms of breath work. Some upregulate, some downregulate. It does take practice. And I like to practice with it all day long. And it is easier if you're working with me or someone, a practitioner, where you can drop out of your mind and get into your body. And then someone's asking you, like what we did is I would ask you questions and you can feel, oh, that's coming directly from my intuition or from God. And it's a feeling like, oh, it's this inner knowing. You don't need a practitioner to develop your intuition. We all have intuition. It just will take practice either way. How to know the difference? Yeah, that's a really good question. For me, how it feels in my body is anytime I'm thinking, that's to me, that's like society, thought, belief, me trying to it out in my head. And the answer comes from just this deep knowing within me. It could be words or an image or even this feeling of opening. What I find is intuition, an intuitive yes, it feels like an expansion. It feels like your heart is opening, or like if you were to see photos of really cute puppies or kittens or whatever animal you love and your heart opens, you just smile. Like that's an intuitive yes.
Mm-hmm.
And an intuitive no feels like the opposite. It's this like when you see something really bad in the news and your whole body just kind of closes. Like your intuition is saying there's this deep primal knowing like that's wrong, that shouldn't be happening in the world. So you can begin to walk throughout life feeling what's a yes, what's a no, what's a yes, what's a no. And that will help you develop that sense of intuition. And, still, even today, like I teach this work, I practice it myself, and I still sometimes get tripped up on the bigger things, right? When my intuition says, you should do this thing that's completely different than what you've been doing for the past 6 years. And
Mm-hmm.
my mind is like, I don't know if I want to do that. That scares me. Very often the intuition is quite immediate, but if you have fear or resistance, the thoughts will come in spinning. And what I've found is, if something's not for you, you just you say no and you move on, right? You just don't really think about it again. But if your intuition is calling you to something, you probably will keep tuning back into it and it never really goes away. Even if you're afraid, even if your mind is convincing you it's not for you, you shouldn't do it, but you're still feeling this deep pull. Like this happened to me when I first was becoming a coach. I ran away from it for 4 years, but I still felt the pull. Whenever I've invested money in myself, in the beginning it was scary. I would run away from it, but then I still felt the pull. So very often that's a sign as well that your intuition is guiding you to something, but you just have these fears and limiting beliefs that are stopping you.
Yeah, I was going to say that whenever I had a friend in college and when she was a child, one day we were sitting at her mother's house. Her mom was telling us a story that whenever my friend was a child, she was in an accident, not with her mom, and the mom knew that she was in an accident before she got the call that she had been in an accident. And when I
Mm,
heard that story, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm that's going to happen to me." You know what I mean? Like I'm going to know that I'm gonna know that somebody that I love, like something has happened to them before it actually happens to them. And it created a lot of fear in me. And then I started making up scenarios. Shane's probably gonna be hurt right now. My mom's gonna not call me today. And like I was started making up all of these stories. And it became a question for me of how am I gonna know the difference between my anxiety and my intuition? Because for so long it was my anxiety telling me that stuff was gonna happen. And I was like, but it doesn't happen because it's not my intuition. So how am I going to know when it is my intuition? And now that I've practiced this for so long, like you said, it's just this deep knowing. My anxiety feels like it's a pit in my stomach. And whenever I am thinking of these things, I can tell it's like my mind is circling on them. There's a lot of fear. There's my stomach is in knots, and that is anxiety. But there have been times where I've just known things, and I've just, like, for example, when my grandfather got cancer, before my mom called me, I said to my husband, she's going to call me and say that my papa has cancer. And it wasn't a fear. It wasn't, it was just, I just knew that that was going to happen. And then she did, like an hour later, called me and told me that. And so when I had those experiences, I was like, okay, I fully understand the difference in the way those feel for me now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And each person needs to learn what their intuition feels like to them, because it may feel different for each person, but it's a feeling, it's a knowing, it's a deep primal like understanding, kind of like when you know you have to go to the bathroom, or when you
Yeah.
know you need to drink water. It's that kind of feeling.
Totally. Alesha, thank you so much for everything that you shared in this episode. I think that the ladies who are listening to this, they got some good stuff out of us, because this is the type of conversations that I had with you whenever I was working with you. So they just basically got in on a coaching session from Alesha. They got to feel what it was like to feel the energy of working with you, which is the best energy ever. So thank you for coming onto the show. Thanks for sharing all of this with us. And I'd love for you to speak a little bit about Love Embodied right now. I have already shared a little bit about the program and you and how to sign up and all those things at the beginning of this episode, but I'd still love for them to hear it from you a little bit about what the program's about and all those nice details.
Yeah, well, first I'll say thank you so much for having me. I could talk to you all day. I can't believe all this time has flown by already. And it's been such a treat, as I said, working with you and seeing you support so many women in the world. Now you're speaking on stages, manifesting a dream that you've had for so long. And I just can't wait to see where you go. And for Love Embodied, yeah, so I've been teaching Love Embodied almost since the beginning of being a coach. So it'll be my 6th or 7th year teaching this program. And each year it's evolved. And it began as a self-love program. And now it's evolved into a 3-month embodiment journey where you develop a deep relationship with yourself and your creator. So what I've found over the years is, I'm very logical, and I love to nerd out and learn about energy and manifestation and reality creation and healing and somatics and all the different things. But what I've found is I feel like I found like these keys that unlock the happiest version of you and the most joyful, peaceful, abundant version of you. And it's a lot of the things we spoke about today, where we really surrender the mind and move into the heart, where this infinite energy of love, which what I found is it's kind of like we're in this invisible ocean of love. And most of us don't know that it's there, so our door is closed, or we're stuck in our heads, so the door is closed to feeling it. And what we do in Love Embodied is we open the door for you to access deep states of love and joy and peace and abundance in your everyday life, where on the outside, your life could be beautiful. It also could be chaotic. It could be not what you're desiring at all. But as we tap into those frequencies, you learn that you have the power through yourself and through your connection to something greater to feel amazing every day. And from that place, your vibration rises and you kind of get into this vortex of energy where your life begins to change and you begin to manifest and magnetize experiences and people and opportunities that reflect that love and joy and peace and abundance that you're vibrating. So I love this program. It's 3 months long. It's my favorite program that I teach, and it's incredible. And I can't say enough good things about it.
I think that for a lot of people, when they're trying to lose the weight or stop their food noise or whatever it is that, or those big health goals that people have, it can feel like this is something that can wait. It's like, well, I'm going to lose the weight and then I'll love myself. I'm going to get rid of my food noise. I'm going to heal my relationship with food. I'm going to do all these things. And through those things, then I'll love myself. But the way you teach it and the truth of it is that you love yourself and those things happen because of it. It's the reverse of what most people think that it is.
Yes. Exactly. It's exactly that. That's how I healed my relationship with food and my body. And I suffered with bulimia for 5 or 6 years. And I thought it would be my whole life. Like it's all I thought about. Food, my body, restricting, overeating. Like it was my whole life. And simultaneously, I also was struggling with money and I was struggling with my love life, dating toxic men, letting myself be cheated on, like going back to them. And by going within and learning who I actually am, which is not my body is a vessel and it carries who I actually am, and loving the truth of who I am and filling up on this energy of love that we get to access no matter what size we are, no matter who's in our life, no matter what habits we're engaging in. And filling up on that love, it just naturally, it becomes a lot easier for your habits to naturally change, for you to, it's kind of like from the inside out, your standards raised for yourself. And you just naturally don't go into as much shame, or you don't let those people into your life because you're not a match for them anymore. So you're so right. I'm glad you spoke on that. Although this course isn't focused on physical health, so many women heal their relationship with food and their body, become healthier because they shift their focus into deeply loving themselves, and that's a byproduct.
100%. Health is a byproduct. And that's what I always say about when you're working with me too. So many women are like, am I going to lose weight? And I tell them weight loss is a byproduct. I don't teach you. It's not all focused on weight loss. It's focused on healing you as a person and changing who you are from the inside out, what your habits are, how you value yourself, exactly what you do, Alesha. And through that, that's whenever all of these other changes start to happen. And I learned so much of that from you. So I feel so excited for the women who are listening to this and feeling drawn to you. They're getting that intuitive ping to work with Alesha. If you are, ladies, I'm telling you, listen to that intuitive ping. I did in December of 2024 or 3? I can't remember now, but I did. And I'm so glad that I did because my life was ever changed because of it.
Yay. I'm so grateful. I'm so glad. I love you.
Thanks for coming onto the podcast, Alesha, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. See you soon.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again next week. And always remember, the more you know, the more you grow.